Hello everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I forgot what I was about to say, but today I'm going to be working a little bit more on my PNGtuber avatar for these live streams, and then after that my plan is to work on some artwork that my art tutor assigned for me to do as an exercise, and I'm looking forward to talking more about my art tutor while I'm working on that. But in the meantime, I'm gonna be working on this. So I just opened the document. I have no recollection of where I'm actually at in the art process. I remember now. I was about to color his hair in. This live stream is going to be a lot better than the failed attempt at last week's live stream. I was just in a severely depressed, really bad mental state during last week's live stream, so I just wasn't able to do it even though I gave it my best shot. But this week I'm doing much better. Like quite a ways better. Like differences more even than night and day, and so hopefully the stream goes a lot better since I'm just in a much happier mental state now. So anyway, let's begin coloring in Blue's hair here. Gosh, my chair is squeaky. I've been working on Minecraft quite a bit lately. I have this thing where I kind of cycle between different creative mediums, I'll work on game development for a while, and then I'll get bored of that, and then I'll switch to art, then I'll get bored of that, then I'll switch to Minecraft for quite a while, and then I'll get bored of that. Apparently it's an ADHD symptom. It's just a pretty common thing for people with ADHD to just cycle between interests like that. So that's actually something my therapist told me. That I'm glad he told me that, because I used to have a bunch of guilt about, oh, I'm wasting my life playing Minecraft when I could be doing art. But the good thing about the cycle is that it is a cycle. I will eventually come back to art or game development or whatever. So I don't really have to feel guilty about just playing Minecraft and feeling like I'm wasting my time on a creative medium that's quote-unquote illegitimate as a form of art. So that's cool. So anyway, what I've been doing in Minecraft recently is mostly working on a forever world, but I've also been really getting into data packs and basically programming my forever world. But in addition to the forever world, I'm also starting to work on an adventure map again that I abandoned for quite a while, thinking that I just didn't have the interest in it. I kind of started that adventure map toward the tail end of one of my Minecraft phases, and it was before my therapist told me the truth about there being no real guilt in it. So I kind of abandoned the adventure map for a while, thinking, oh, I don't want to waste my life developing adventure maps. I'd rather develop actual video games or whatever. But anyway, I've resumed work on a Minecraft adventure map that's pretty cool. And I mean, I only just restarted work on it like yesterday evening. So, but basically I've been cleaning up my Minecraft adventure map since it's a kind of old map now. Been updating it to work with the newest Minecraft versions and stuff, and redoing some of the builds to look better and things like that. And anyway, the concept of the adventure map that I'm working on is actually something from a creative journal that I had years and years back, just literally called the Ideas Journal. And it was like this idea I had, is that the Journey Home Minecraft adventure map? I don't believe so. Yeah, no, now that I remember it, no, this is a completely different adventure map I'm talking about, but kind of a more recent one than that one, ironically, even though it's a kind of old map. The Journey Home is super old now, but this one's like a much more recent one comparatively. But anyway, the concept for this adventure map that I'm working on now is actually from an old creative journal that I was working on years back, and it was this idea called The Factory on the Hill, and it was basically this story idea that there's a abandoned factory on a hill that is a mysterious factory that, like, it used to work tirelessly day and night manufacturing something. No one knows what it used to make, because basically what happened is it just mysteriously shut down one day and sent all the workers home permanently, and no one knows why it just randomly shut down. And so the Minecraft adventure map is basically, after years of this factory being abandoned, you're playing as a former worker of the factory or their son or something, and just for some mysterious reason you just randomly remember one day that this factory existed after it being forgotten, and you're stricken, like your player character is stricken with like really intense curiosity about the factory. So you decide to basically break into the factory and power it on again and stuff. and that's literally just the beginning of the map. I haven't fleshed out the rest of the story for it or anything, but I'm kind of thinking something along the lines that maybe the reason everyone forgot about the factory is because after it shut down, there's like a mind control thing on all the workers, and when it shut down, the mind control thing as a last protocol, like forced everyone to forget the factory even existed. But then through some mysterious means, the same system that mind controlled the workers originally has caused you, a former worker, to suddenly remember the factory existed and be stricken with intense curiosity. And so basically there's something mysterious and potentially sinister afoot going on with this ancient, like, abandoned factory, because after years of not even knowing it existed, you just, like, you're curious about it, but that's part of the mind control. And so you're drawn, like, called to this factory for some reason that you don't know. And the story is kind of a mystery story unfolding what's actually going on in this old abandoned factory and stuff. Anyway, not sure why I just randomly decided to talk about my Minecraft stuff while I'm working on my PNGtuber avatar here, but just kind of felt like talking about it. It's a fun thing to talk about. I really enjoy developing Minecraft maps because it's like some of the same mindset and technical challenge as developing a game, but the added thing that makes it an enjoyable challenge is having to work within the specific limitations of Minecraft. Because Minecraft, in a way, is almost its own game engine, but it's like a very unique game engine that runs on really unique formats of commands, and you have to, like, it's a fun challenge to kind of figure out, okay, how do I do this complicated thing within the limits of what is possible using Minecraft's commands. And it can be a pretty rewarding endeavor because of the interesting challenge behind it. It's kind of why I used to like making mods for Portal 2. Source Engine had a lot of interesting limitations too, but anyway, Minecraft adventure map making is really enjoyable and really fun. At least right now, while I'm in my ADHD Minecraft phase. In a couple weeks, maybe I'll be doing something else entirely that isn't even related to Minecraft, but we'll see. Maybe I'll finish the map, maybe it'll wait a few more years before being finished, who knows. But it's an interesting concept for the map, at least. Anyway, now I gotta fill in Blue's booper snoot. Just kinda have to wonder why my layers are set up the way they are. Usually I do clipping groups, but somehow it appears I haven't done that at all in this so far. I guess it's alright though, as long as things aren't bleeding too bad into other things. That's the main reason I use clipping groups, is just so that the edge control is a little easier, but I haven't used clipping groups in this image for whatever reason, so I gotta be a little more careful. There's Blue's booper snoot. Wonder if I should add like a little glint or gleam, whatever, reflection on his nose like this. Yeah, that looks good. Maybe start thin and then go a little thicker toward the right side. Yeah, that would look good if I... There we go. Maybe do the same thing, just slightly on his nostrils. Maybe just his left nostril, because the right one wouldn't reflect the light in the same way. That looks off balance, actually. Let's see, the middle of his nose is like here, so his right nostril wouldn't actually be visible, but his left one kind of is. And there's also that thing that foxes have in the middle of their nose. Maybe I can just... whatever, I'll just leave it like this. This seems good enough. Now, since I have a bright off-white color selected, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the whites of his eyes next. I should probably turn down the line art layer a little bit. And fill his eye in like that. Probably erase just a tiny bit here. And then fill that in. Then do the same thing with his other eye. Just circle and then fill that in. There we go. And now I can turn the line art way back up. And completely lose track. Okay, there's the whites of his eyes. Now I need to make a layer. Actually, I'll go ahead and do a clipping group on this layer and do the blues of his eyes, which I do like a brighter version of the color that his shirt is usually, like brighter and more saturated, but the same hue as his shirt. Fun fact, his shirt is actually what I named him after originally when I made him, like his very first versions in 2014 or so. I came up with a fox character with dog-like markings inspired by my pet dog Maddie at the time. Border Collie Australian Shepherd mix with a white stripe down the middle of her face. And I just didn't have a good name for the character, but I eventually realized, you know what, the color of his shirt is a good name for him. Blue. He's Blue the Fox. And that's how I came up with Blue's name. Wasn't super creative, and I do eventually want to do a full design overhaul of Blue, in fact, but until then I'm just drawing him with his blue shirt and basically the same design as I've always had for him. I have noticed his eyes are a little bit not focused right, but I'm not really sure what to do about that, because I think this is already like my third or fourth attempt to get them right in this drawing, and they still stink. At least this one does. His left, viewer's right eye is okay, but somehow this doesn't look good. Like, it doesn't look focused. At least not in the same direction as his other eye, so maybe if I just do this, it'll look okay. Nope, still looks a little wall-eyed. I'm not really sure why. I mean, if I tilt my head to the side and blur my own vision slightly, it looks fine, but hold on, maybe I should press M and see what the problem is. Yeah, just do that. I think the problem is that his entire pupil is kind of tilted a little bit, and I didn't notice that before. I'll just turn the... Yeah, it is rotated. Yep. So, let's see. Yeah, that looks better. I think. Not super easy to tell. I think it looks okay though. Just need to give some room for the blue part. And then zoom out. I mean, it's focused now, but it looks weird somehow. Like this pupil doesn't look the same as the other one. And I'm not really sure why that is. It's like, has something to do with this, I think. Like it feels like this eye is open wider somehow. I think that has to do with the shape of the eye, actually, because I didn't do, like, if I just erase all this and then a little eyelid here. There we go. That's way better. Way better. Now I just need to erase this excess. Hello? There we go. My eraser wasn't working for a second there. So now, the blues of his eyes. This actually looks pretty good already. Can't really see the white of his eye at all. And I mean, it looks okay, but need to fix this. Oop. There's the wrong color of brush in use there. Just a very careful balance of symmetry and the like. Hold on, which layer's which here? This one. And then the blue part, sample that color there. And then the line art, just switch to the correct brush and colors. Just need to do a very thin little thing there. And be pixel precise for no real reason. And then, all right, there we go. His eye looks good now. Looks perfect. So now that I have his eyes in place, I'll just sample this off-white color and do the iconic face stripe that blue is known for. The defining feature of his whole character design. Oh, it's overriding his nose right now. And that's mainly because it's above his nose, layer order wise, so There we go. That's better. Yay! There's my blue. My Foxo. Gosh, I need to make a proper reference sheet for blue at some point, cause I can't remember the color of his tail. I don't remember if it's white tipped or black tipped. I think I usually go with black tipped, actually, so I'll just go with black tipped again, and then I can always just Control I to invert it later. Since it's an off black, it's also like it's super easy to just Control I to invert it and turn it into almost the exact same off-white as his eye, in fact. So it's perfect in staying with the color palette pretty much. It's okay if there's like slight variations in color here and there. Don't have to match the palette exactly, but alright, let's just carefully erase along here, and then not as carefully erase all of this junk. And then fill in that little gap there. That gap is actually part of the base layer, so there we go. Welcome back. Alright, now I feel like the tip of his tail is a little too small. Like, I feel like it should come down here somewhat. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually gonna try to make it more fur-esque as far as the pattern, though. More like that, and then I'll correct the line art to match that. As soon as I get rid of the blobby ends on some of these. And kind of draw in a few more of these. I'm going super detailed here. Lots of nice little fur details. Even though this is like gonna be a flat shaded artwork. Yeah, I think that's good enough. Let's erase this strand actually, and kind of do this. There we go. Now I just need to correct the line art to match that. Need to move my chair a little bit further back so that the tablet is more accessible underneath my desk here. Alright, get rid of that line, and then carefully trace this line. There we go. Get rid of those vanishing point guides. Now, what else is missing here? His pen. Let's see what layer his hand is on here. That one. So, I'll go ahead and just slightly lighter shade for the pen, just so that it's visible against the tablet. And I'll just be a little sloppy here, so I just fill in the whole pen, but then I'll just erase the silhouette. In. There we go. That side is good. Now, let me just do this. Do this. Nice thing about having a tablet with a large surface area is I can do these really long strokes and not have to worry about running off the edge of the page, so to speak. And I'll just erase that part so it looks like his finger's over the top of it. Cool. I'll turn that into a clipping mask and turn the pen nib real dark. Just boop. Just that part. Let's see. Could also do a little thing there, and sample this, make it slightly lighter, kind of trying to make it resemble the pen that I'm using slightly, even though I drew it a lot less detailed in the line art. And then darker again. Maybe I'll just do some kind of indicator on the side here of like a button. Yeah, there we go. His pen is in place. And, let's see, the tablet indicators are right here. I'll just turn those into clipping groups. And I want to kind of do a little detail here where am I in erase mode? What's going on here? Hold on. Oh, it is working. It's just super subtle for some reason. Maybe if I just use this brush. Okay, I think the problem is that the base layer itself is like really not that opaque for some reason. That's okay. If I do this, I can make it a lot lighter and then kind of fill these in because I want them to look like they're lighting up, because my actual tablet that this is loosely based on lights up in those corners every time the pen is touching it, and that's a detail I would really like to kind of show on this thing. So let's see. There we go. Kind of do that, do that, do that, and then do that. And then I can merge the clipping group. I think that looks real good. And I think this, oh, I was gonna say this is done, but it's not. I just noticed that the fur inside his ears is not colored. So let me find what layer his ears are on. There we go. I'll just make a new layer underneath that, and let's see. All right, there we go. Just do this, and then little detail here, little bit here, little here, little here, and then fill that in, and then I'll do the same for his other ear. Just kind of follow the rough shape first and fill it in, and then I go back in here and add these little details, these little strands of fur. And unless there's something obvious that I'm still missing, I think I'm done with blue here. Just gotta stare at it for a couple more minutes, and his paws. His paws need to be a little bit darker than they are, because I remember now his character design is such that that his paws are actually black. So his paws, his hands, whatever. His hand paws. Because he's a foxo. Just blur that, and then blur that. Actually, should blur it the same way on this one. All right, now what? I feel like there's still something missing here. Of course, since this is going to be an animated PNGtuber, once I have this finished, I need to basically duplicate the entire creative file and like modify it for alternate poses and stuff, like his mouth being open and his eyes looking directly at the viewer and things like that. I think, because like the OBS plugin I'm planning to use for the avatar can basically switch between 3 different states. One for the mouth being open, one for the mouth being closed, and then an alternate action that just triggers randomly. And I think the alternate action that triggers randomly should be a pose where his eyes are looking directly at the viewer, but then his hand pose is also in a completely different position on the tablet, so that it kind of, when that triggers randomly, it kind of looks like he is drawing and stuff. And yeah, I think those are my plans. Not sure how best to approach that with all these layers. One place I can definitely start is to actually name them, though, because kind of a nightmare right now. So line art. Let's see. This is hair. Oh, hair color. Ear black rims color. Ear white fur color. Eyes. Iris. And then I assume the layer below that is the whites. And then this layer is booper, highlight. Booper highlight. Booper black. I'm calling his nose the booper. Face, stripe, white. Gotta name all these. Pen colors. Pen details. Pen base. Alright, and then this is his arms. I think that's his black paws. Let me double check that. Yep. And that's the base. And then this one is tablet indicator lights. This is tablet base. This is his shirt. This is the air. This is the air vent. This is the base. And that's definitely his tail. It's gotta be. Yep. Black tip. And then that's the base. And this is head base. Yep. The naming is not consistent, but it works. Much better than what I had before, where everything was just called paint layer some number or other. So, now that I have my layers completely named and stuff, I can probably save this as... wait, am I in the correct folder here? I don't believe so. Cancel. Let's see. File, save as. I don't remember what folder this is even in. Hold on. Let me bring up my search app. PNGtuber.kra. Okay, it is in my artwork folder, so file save as PNGtuber base default pose, and then I'll save it again as PNGtuber talk pose, since that's gonna be the next thing I do here. So So now that I have this current document saved as his talk pose, make sure I'm on the right layer here, I'm gonna open his mouth. Say, ah! Oh, well. Sometimes it's a little difficult to draw this, but I think I did okay. Never mind. Looks a little overbitey, so just gotta make some adjustments here. The problem with a generic open mouth pose is that I don't know what phoneme he's speaking. So this looks like an ooh sound here, and I don't want that because it just looks weird. But I don't know what phoneme is like the most generic one that I can draw that just looks good as his talking pose. So that's a problem I have pretty consistently in my art whenever I try to draw a character with their mouth open. They just always, like, I always mentally struggle to figure out if they're speaking what phoneme, or if they're just smiling really wide. I still need to draw the mouth shape such that they're not making the ooh sound. Just reference some phonemes. That would be a good idea. I have no idea how to do that though, because the thing is, I've actually tried to pull up reference for phonemes in the past several times for animation, and the problem with that is nobody on the internet seems to have a consensus as to what each one looks like. Some people, like some examples, draw the phonemes one way, some examples draw them a different way. There's like scientific papers that have photographs of people making phonemes, but like even those aren't consistent because different tests or whatever, different people actually make their mouth look differently when they speak, depending on accents or regional dialects, or even their race, I think, has some very slight effect on that. So there's just no real consistent way to reference phonemes, unfortunately, just because there's just so many of them. And I don't know, like maybe Pixar and Disney and all them have some like standardized internal reference that they use. It would be great if I knew where to look to access that, because I'm sure it's on the internet somewhere. There's no way a company with 1 billion employees would keep that secret. But now that his mouth is open, I need to do some coloration for things inside his mouth, like his teeth, for example. Let's see. Alright, and then I need to figure out how to color in the red dark inside of his mouth without it looking weird. That's also something I sometimes struggle with these open mouth pose characters, is getting the interior of their mouth to look the right color. I don't know why. It's just one of those things that I struggle with. Even though I'm pretty good at color elsewhere, I guess it's just a psychological issue or something. Like, as soon as I get to a character's mouth, it's like suddenly some part of my brain is like, gets confused as to what color that should be. I think this is good though. Just a dark red, but not too dark, and then for his tongue I'll just go a little lighter, just like that. And then I need to actually erase just a tiny bit here so that it's not bleeding over his lip. Yeah, there we go. That's a good open mouth pose for him, I think. So now, what I need to do is open up the default pose and do the really difficult alternate pose, which is the one where his eyes are looking directly at the viewer and his arm is in a different position. Because the reason that's difficult is because I have like 500 layers that I need to update in order to do that. So it's a good thing I named them all. I'm going to turn his arms off and focus on the line art for his arm first. Need to erase it all the way up to the shoulder because the whole arm is going to be posed a little bit differently. I need to just, well, I'm going to keep his hand because his hand is going to look the same and I really don't want to redraw it anyway. But, let's see. Actually, instead of erasing it, I'm gonna make it a little more transparent and then do a different line art layer on top because I can picture kind of where his elbow ends up. Let's see. Kind of pulls his arm back and rotates it slightly. So his hand would be here. His elbow would be here. His shoulder would be still in the same place. So that means this connects like that. And this goes here. So that means that his shoulder is here. His arm is like here. Like that. Like that. I'll just draw it as this so that I can attach the line art of his old hand to that. I'll erase some of the old line art now. I have Africa Stuck in My Head by Toto. It's because I saw a meme the other day that basically it was Toto, but it was Africa by Toto, except the lyrics were changed so that the lyrics were just the names of all the countries in Africa. And it was really cleverly done, but I have the song stuck in my head now because of it. So now let's turn the line art all the way up and erase some parts of it. Hold on. Is it psychological or does that just look really weird? Like, is it just in my head or does his arm look completely wrong here? It looks completely wrong. I think part of it is that his shirt needs to be updated. like that, but then his arm still doesn't look like it's in perspective. It looks like it's too thick, but it's too chunky of an arm. But I think that's a foreshortening issue and not an anatomy issue. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but yeah, no, it definitely, hold on. Let me just use Krita's magic rotation perspective cheat thing to correct this. Because that's the problem, is the perspective. So now that I've done that, I can just retrace that. And yes, that is a huge cheat. I know, everyone boo me, but who cares? I have the tools and I have the right to use them. Unless they're AI, in which case I don't want to use that unless it's for a completely non-serious project. Because AI is a joke. It's literally just a joke. Can't be used for any serious purpose, in my opinion. You know what? Now that these layers are kind of visually merged, I might as well merge them for real so that I can work on it all at once. Huh. His arm still somehow looks weird to me. Of course, I need to completely redo the entire shading and stuff for it, but I should probably just the box here. There we go. So now that the pen is in the correct place, I guess I can start working on the arms to completely redo them. Just turn that off and then completely erase this. Gonna press Control T just to make sure I haven't left any ghost pixels behind. Erase that. And now select this color and redo everything. Just kind of go over it fairly quickly. It's a fairly simple shape. And I can just use Krita's amazing paint bucket tool to fill this in once I'm done. I love Krita's paint bucket so much because they just keep making it better. In a recent update, they added gap filling options to it, which was pretty awesome. Haven't used them yet, but it's a really good feature. And that's the thing that makes Krita's paint bucket so amazing is, look at that. There's no gaps or anything. No anti-aliasing artifacts. None of the stuff that Photoshop's paint bucket tool has. Krita's paint bucket tool is usable. That's the main thing about it that's so awesome, is that I can actually use it. Paint bucket tools in other software like Photoshop are just not really useful because of those artifacts that they leave behind almost every single time. So Krita's tools are king in that regard. They're just so much better than Photoshop's, because Krita was made by artists who can code. So unlike Photoshop, which was made by a board of executives, Krita's developers actually know what's useful for artists. So the software specifically designed for artists. Anyway, now that that arm is redone, I can Also redo the black paw on that arm. Need to erase the old one. And then make a new one here. Oop, not with that brush though. Let's undo that. Let's do it with this brush. Just fill that in, and then smudge it a bunch here. Maybe a bigger smudge to make it a little smoother. Erase some of that, and there we go. That's good. Well, make it a little less smooth. So that's like the other one that's over here. There we go. Now I just need to redo his shirt since the shoulder of it is all wrong now. Just erase that, and then, oh, wrong brush. There we go. Fill that in. Erase that, fill that in. There we go. His arm is in a different pose now. Let me mirror the canvas and see what's wrong with the arm, because it still looks weird to me. It looks like a shrimpy, like short little arm. I'm not sure what I did wrong there, but I think it'll be good enough for what its purpose is. Literally just as an avatar in the bottom right. So now I am going to go to line art, and instead of redrawing the eyes, I'm going to cheat a little bit with the lasso tool here and just move the eyes. Of course, I will have to redraw them a little bit, but that, I'll have to save that till after intermission because I lost track of time and it is now time for intermission. So, heck, I'll actually continue working on this even during the intermission because I'm actually like legitimately having fun doing this right now. But just to keep with the live stream schedule, I'll have an intermission, and when I'm back, you'll see whatever I did during the intermission, if anything. So, I'll see you all in about 12 minutes. Hello everyone, I am back from my intermission. I worked a little bit on my PNGtuber during the intermission, just a tiny bit though, not really anything worth sharing. But then I switched over to this because I almost forgot, but then I remembered that at the beginning of the live stream I said this is what I was going to work on during the second half. I think I said that. But this is the assignment my art tutor has given me. I've been working on it on and off for a few months now. It's a still life, and I'm trying to exactly recreate this photo on the left to the best of my ability. The exercise is essentially focusing on getting the values right, but also secondarily focusing on getting forms and shapes and stuff as accurate as possible as well. And the very last focus is details, getting those right, but they're really not the point of the exercise for the most part. And so I'm going to be working on this a little bit now, even though it's less fun than the PNGtuber. My art lesson is next week, so I gotta take care of this a little bit so I have something to show for all the work that I'm claiming to be doing between sessions, between art lessons, I mean. And anyway, I'm going to start that in a moment, but during my break I got myself a Little Debbie oatmeal cream pie, and I'm going to finish snacking on that real quick. Man, these things are good. Love them. I asked my friend Shadow Fox UK if he had ever had one, and he said, no, we don't have those in the UK. And I said, well, that's a shame, they're really good. And he said, nah, they're probably just pure chemicals like everything else in the US. And I replied, well, yeah, that is true, but that's part of why it's so good. And then we both laughed. So, maybe for slightly different reasons, but we both laughed. Yeah. The FDA approves of chemicals being in our food, apparently. But I mean, we have literal, like, ever since the nuclear tests in the 50s, we literally have thorium in our bones. Like, literally every person on Earth, especially in the United States, ever since that happened in the 50s, like, it got into our genes, our genetics. So from that point onward, for the rest of time itself, everyone has thorium in their bones. Like, literally, radioactive isotopes are, like, there's trace amounts of it in the bones of, like, literally everyone. It's funny, you can actually, like, that's such a reliable fact that there's actually forensic scientists and stuff that use that in their work. Like, they can identify if a body, it was a person of a certain age by measuring how much thorium is in their bones. And that's also why scientific equipment needs to be protected with a very specific type of metal that they harvest from the sunken ruins of Roman ships, because everything, like, that metal, after a certain point, has all been irradiated slightly because of those nuclear tests. So they can't use any modern samples of that metal. They literally have to harvest it from, like, the sunken ruins of ancient Roman ships. There's actually a comic I saw that makes a joke off of that, where they said, our time machine only has enough of this metal to go back in time for one more trip. What are we going to do? And so what they did is they traveled back to ancient Rome and started firing rocket launchers at their ships to sink more of them so that they'd have more of that metal to work with in the future. It was pretty funny. Anyway, I'm like halfway done with this oatmeal thing here. But I guess for the moment, this stream has turned into just a chatting stream while I just talk about whatever. But since my art homework is on the screen, I might as well talk about my art tutor a little bit. She's phenomenal, like an absolutely phenomenal artist. And for anyone watching the recording of this stream, you're probably wondering what makes her such a phenomenal artist. Well, get this, she single-handedly carried the film Atlantis: The Lost Empire. She, like, literally every CGI object in the entire, like the friggin' entire movie, every single texture, hand painted by my art tutor, Sansere Lise. She's in the credits as the texture map painter. Like, she was literally the only person on the entire movie who had that job, so she single-handedly carried the film. Like, the thing that a lot of people praise about Atlantis: The Lost Empire, despite it being kind of a box office bomb on its initial release, is how innovative it was with CGI and hand-drawn animation, similarly to Treasure Planet, which a lot of people consider to be like its sister movie. But yeah, all the CGI that has textures on it, that's my art tutor's work. Sansere Lise, you can look her up. She has a website. She has a lot of students. And she really knows what she's doing. She's a great artist. So, currently she's actually in a competition called The People's Artist, hosted by Johnny Depp. And even though it costs money to vote for her, I would recommend anyone who can just look her up, Sansere Lise, The People's Artist, and send some votes her way. Because of some troubles with her art gallery business or art studio business and the city making parking mandatory paid stuff, she actually has some money issues right now to some degree. But this contest would solve those if she won it. So, just vote for Sansere Lise in the People's Artist contest. I already bought like 5 votes. That was as much as I could afford, but currently, if I'm not mistaken, there's double votes right now. So if you buy 5 votes, you'll actually vote for her 10 times by doing that. So anyway, my art tutor also worked on several other films. The Polar Express was one of the films she worked on as well. And it's funny because that's my favorite Christmas movie. And like, she really, I can't remember the rest of her work. She also worked on Stuart Little, the one with the CGI mouse and the CGI plane that he flew around. She did the textures for the plane, I believe, and a few other things in the movie. And yeah, I mean, Sansere Lise is an amazing texture artist, but she's first and foremost an amazing artist. You have to be an amazing artist to be an amazing texture artist. So anyway, enough talk. I'm almost done with this massive Little Debbie oatmeal cream pie that I'm snacking on here, and then I'll get my artist glove on and start actually working on this exercise a little bit, maybe. Admittedly, this cream pie was an excuse to procrastinate because I don't necessarily enjoy working on this exercise, but as soon as I'm done, depending on how much time is left in the live stream, I'll definitely work on it. Man, this thing's good. All right. finished with the snack, and now it's time to do some artwork. Got my artist glove on, got my tablet in my lap, got the pen in my hand. So now I just need to figure out where I left off on this, what the next step was. Oh, what did I just do? Okay, that's the layer for the left pair. I think the next thing I was going to do was the stem for the leaves. I just need to take care of that. Normally, I would just be lazy and literally sample the value from here, like I just did. Gotta confuse myself here. But part of the point of the exercise is literally to eyeball it, like to train myself to recognize values. So, that's actually almost black. Like most of that stem is almost completely black. So, also those leaves are way too big. I need to find which leaf is which here. That one. And I believe the one below it. Those are like that whole grouping of leaves. Yeah, that whole grouping of leaves is wrong. So, need to cheat a little bit with digital, but whatever. Let's see. I think this is as close as I can get it. Now I'll just create a new layer there, call it stem, put it underneath all the layers of the leaves, make sure I'm on the right layer here, and then actually I'm going to adjust my brush setting here to get rid of the opacity, because I need it to be completely opaque and not fade out at all. Now I can do this. So, let's see, there's like making a little notation here of where the bends in the branch are, because I'm noticing there's like two little bends, and kinda. Alright, so that goes like that, kinda thinner than that, but kinda does that, although it's a little smoother than that. It kinda, yeah, about as good as I can get that to look. And then this kinda does this. I exaggerated it a little bit too much, but that's okay. I'm sure it doesn't matter that terribly much. Kinda bends pretty sharply there, and then this goes up like that. They connect and they join as one. This leaf here is wrong. It's kind of funny with the leaf layers, because I can't name them. Like, what am I going to name them? Leaf 1, leaf 2, leaf 3? You know, like, they're all leaves. So, it's really no different than paint layer 1, paint layer 2, paint layer 3. So I'm kind of in a unfortunate conundrum with these leaves and the layer naming, that I can't name them. Like, literally, there's no descriptive way to name them so that I can keep the layers straight. I just have to do my common technique of turning layers on and off and seeing which one is which, basically. And this goes like that. And then this connects up to here, nice and thick. And that actually goes up through to here, which branches out like that. Like that. Kinda. I'm a little shaky here, but it's okay because it is a stem. It kind of has those little bumps and stuff on it. And this is a low resolution image, so it really doesn't matter that terribly much. That one's a bit interesting, and I just noticed this actually should be more like this. Yeah, and then that one kind of shoots out like this and connects up like that. Then this goes, gonna shoot for the moon here and just do that. Interestingly, I think the stem should be behind the bottle layer actually, because it's inside the bottle, so there we go. And then there's a little tiny stem that comes out like that. Well, more like this. Then there's one that loops around, kind of does this, although it kind of does that a little more. And there's one over here that kind of does the same thing. It's a lot more shallow in perspective though, so there we go. That's looking good. It's not perfect, but definitely looks good at least. I should make this a little more confident looking. I've been wanting to tackle the stem on this project for quite a while, but never did it because I was afraid of it. Now I realize there wasn't really a reason to be afraid of it. I'll see what my tutor thinks in the next lesson about this, but I mean, she's been pretty impressed with my work so far, so I'm not too concerned. One thing that I definitely need to fix though is the entire image, because cannot transform hidden layers. Okay, fair enough. I'll just make that unhidden then, and layer is locked. Which layer is locked? Oh, that one. I'll just... Alright, as I was saying, need to lower the entire composition here. So, might as well lower the line art that's based on too. And then, let's see, that's that layer. So I'll fill in the blank at the top here. Fill in the entire canvas, in fact. And this is the part where I'm gonna select all and then crop to all. Crop. That's another feature that Krita recently added. That's kind of cool, is this little toolbar with quick actions, kind of like Photoshop a little bit, but it just kind of showed up when I updated Krita, even though it wasn't in the change notes, and I like it. I like what it's done here. You can invert selection, you can select all, you can deselect with that toolbar, you can fill the selection, you can erase the selection, you can duplicate the selection, and you can crop the canvas to the selection just super conveniently now, which is pretty awesome. This is the first time I'm actually using it, but I'm glad I used it, because now instead of selecting everything and then clicking the crop button and then being careful when I click to focus it and then hitting enter, which is like more difficult than it ought to be, I can literally just select all and then hit this little crop button and it does the same thing automatically. Super nice. So anyway, now I can start attacking the leaves individually, I think. Because I think the bottle's done, the pears are done, like, I mean, there's obviously little adjustments I can make here and there to those, but I'll go over that in a different pass later. Right now, I think I'll just go ahead and start some of the shading detail on these leaves. This leaf should actually, in general, be a lot darker than it is. So that's my first thing to do, is to color it a lot darker. And then my next thing is to do those kind of really bright highlights on the leaf. It's kind of right in the center of the leaf, isn't it? So it's like right there. Got to start somewhere. Might as well be there. Just make a bright little splotch, and then since I noticed the leaf is folded down the middle, I'll just hard erase half of that, and then it has this little shape, so I'll kind of do that. And despite my better judgment, I'll just use the smudge tool to smudge this out. And let's see, what else can I do? Oh, hi. Hi, Clancy. Glad you could make it to the stream. Good to see you. Glad to have you here. And yeah, this is the project I briefly showed you one time. Looks like you've made a lot of progress on this since the last time I saw you working on it. Yeah, definitely. I think when I showed it to you, it was just a sketch, if I'm not mistaken. But now I've definitely made a lot more progress since then, because it has been a while. Let's see. Make this a little brighter. Switch to this brush. It's kind of... Brush is a little too big right now. Might as well make this a little smaller. Do that. There's also a little random highlight up here that I can just do this, and then next I just go in really small with pure white and just do that. There's also like a random splotch over here, so I'll just do that. Yeah, I don't even remember there being a stem last time you showed me. Haha, I'm excited to see how that part turns out. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I actually did the stem literally like a couple minutes before you joined the live stream, so Um, so it's funny because literally, like, I finished the stem and I looked over and there your chat messages were. So that's why there wasn't a stem last time, is because I literally just did the stem. But yeah, this looks a little weird, so I'm gonna blur that out a bit. It's kind of hard with these leaves to figure out what where the highlights are and stuff, because there's also all these little veins that aren't technically part of the shading. They're like part of the detail pass that I'll do later. But in this case, it's kind of hard to differentiate between what's broad shading and what's little details. But anyway, noticing there's like a dark shadow in the corner of this leaf, so I'm gonna actually, same layer as the highlights, I'm just gonna paint that in. Let's see, it's kind of, well, not the same layer. I can actually put it on a different temporary layer and stuff so I can get the shape somewhat right. But it's like a shape like that, and then I erase that. Okay. So it's like a shape like that, and then I erase that. Kind of maybe a little bigger. Erase that. And then the bottom part of the leaf that kind of folds down in general is also that same kind of shade, so just make that whole thing really dark. And actually I'll just do this and then do this. And then the actual base color of the leaf is maybe a touch too bright, so I'm gonna bring it down a little bit more in the value. Ooh, what did I just do? Is that an eraser? Yes, it is an eraser. So I need to have the correct brush here. There we go. That looks much better. So now what? I feel like this whole leaf is maybe in ever so slightly the wrong position, so I'll just rotate it a bit and put it here. And this middle highlight part isn't bright enough, so this makes me want to work on some artwork for There Is No Escape 2 project, and by artwork I mean some type of rough sketch or something. I think we could definitely use some more concept art for the project. Yes, Clancy, I definitely agree with that. For those watching the recording of the live stream here, Clancy in the chat is actually a good friend of mine working on a video game called There's No Escape 2 with my friend Shadow Fox UK as the main project lead. And anyway, yes, we definitely need more concept art, and once we have the obsidian vault and sink thing set up, we can have a central place to put it all. But yeah, I mean, definitely certain aspects of the game, definitely we need to flesh out the concept more, because right now they're just ideas with no real solid visual behind them. But once we visualize things better, we can have a more solid direction to take them in. So, alright. Anyway, still working on this. So that bottom leaf is actually almost the same color as the bottom part of the top leaf. but it's just ever so slightly brighter. Just a tiny touch. So this is closer to what color it actually is. It's maybe too close to the same color. Maybe I should bring that up just a tad bit. Yeah, that looks about right. That's the thing about this exercise, is I really got to pay attention to the values as close as possible. It's like, it's really like, it's fun in a way, but it's also like really challenging because I have to like really pay attention to just very subtle little differences. And also the shapes and forms need to be all correct, which is why I keep moving the leaves around digitally like this. Because what I just did there is the left side of this leaf actually was completely overlapping both of those stems in mine. But see over here, there's actually a little gap between the left of the leaf and those. Like, the left of the leaf falls between those stems rather than overlapping them. So I just moved it from here, like from here to here. And so that's something interesting like about doing these exercises, is it's a really fun challenge to just see how much detail I can pay attention to and stuff as much as possible. And actually, since that leaf is all basically one color, I think I'm done with it. But oop, wrong layer. I did notice there is a very slight gradient. Like from the top is darker, but then when it pokes out into the light, it gets ever so slightly lighter. So I'm gonna paint that next. Been a while since I calibrated my monitor. That's probably contributing to some of the shenanigans that my brain is doing trying to figure out the values here, but let's see, that kind of goes there and fills in there. It's actually kind of a hard shadow. Kind of goes up like that. Very subtle. I think it's actually a cast shadow from one of the other leaves, potentially, but gosh, it's hard to tell. It's so subtle. I think I'm gonna blend the edge just a little bit here. I think that leaf's done. Definitely. Well, that looks a little too bright, but I can just bring the opacity down slightly. Now it looks too dark. Just bring that up just a touch. Alright, that looks good. Now this leaf, basically the same story. It's all just super dark, but it's like the same darkness as the light part of this dark leaf. So yeah, that one leaf is probably going to be the easiest part of the whole picture. LOL, everything else is super detailed and stuff. Yeah, definitely. That's actually kind of one of the funny things I'm learning about values in art is when something is in shadow, there actually can't be as much detail, because the way the physics of light works is like when there's not very much light, what little light there is gets absorbed by the little cracks and bumps and stuff that we call detail, and so it doesn't ever reach our eyes, and therefore we don't see it. And so things that are in complete shadow, like you just can't see any detail. And so these dark leaves are actually like some of the easiest parts of this image, on account of the fact that they have no detail. Like no detail visible because of how much they're in shadow. And yeah, it's It's pretty interesting stuff. Let's see. Why isn't my brush brushing? What brush am I using? I'm using the blur brush. Let's fix that. There we go, that's the correct brush. Turn that into a clipping layer. And just do a little blep there. Turn that up a little bit. I notice there's like a little bit there. That's a bit brighter. And then I'm gonna blend those a little bit. Blend the edge of this just in general. And since that looks like a hard folded shape, I'm gonna erase this edge to make it harder. And then this edge a little bit too. And then I'm gonna do this. There we go. I noticed there is actually a fold of the leaf underneath the leaf that that I haven't even drawn yet, so I'm gonna, in the base layer of this leaf, I'm going to actually take care of that. Let's see, use this brush, right? Yeah. Kinda goes down like this. It's actually behind that lower leaf though, so I guess I can just do this little cheat. And it is slightly lighter, so I'll just sample from my own painting here, and that's a little too light. That looks correct to me. Yeah, it's perfect. So now just do that, do that. There we go. It's maybe not perfect, but it's close. It's definitely, definitely close to perfect. And that's my goal, is close to perfect, but not perfect. Yeah, I think that leaf's done. The leaf underneath it is maybe slightly too small, so I'm gonna make it a little thicker, a little bigger, just to try to make its shapes a little more accurate to what I'm seeing in the image. Kind of to get the shapes right, I need to pay attention to the negative space too, which is the gaps around things rather than the shape of the things themselves. That's something really important. That was one of my art lessons with sans serif that actually took, I think, a couple months for me to really figure out, is that really to get the silhouette of things correct, you look more at the negative space around the object and not as much at the object itself. And that, like, it's crazy how that works, but like, it's like barcode. You know, the scanner doesn't see the individual bars, it actually sees the gaps around the bars in barcode. That's literally how barcode laser scanners work, is that the white part reflects light back into the scanner, but the black part doesn't. And so that's how barcode scanners work, and our eyes work the exact same way. There's actually, I don't remember if it's the rods or if it's the cones, but one of those two types of cells in our eyes is solely responsible for the value of things, like how dark or light they are. So when we see an object and we see the shape of it, I think it's the rods. The rods in our eyes just see the silhouette by basically the lighter parts, because our eyes don't see darkness, they just see light. So when you see a silhouette of something, it's almost always darker than the area around it. So what we're seeing isn't the object, we're seeing the negative space around the object, actually. So that's why in art, the best way to get the shape correct on something is to look at the negative space around it, because that's literally how our eyes work. We don't see a lack of light, we see light itself. So especially in a picture like this, when it's a bunch of dark objects on a lighter background, it's important to look at the shape of the negative space and not the shape of the object itself, and that's how you get everything right. So anyway, that whole ramble aside, I need to make sure this leaf looks a little bit different than it does, because I noticed there are some things I got slightly wrong with it. And one of those things is the negative space silhouette of this part. It actually comes out, like goes in toward this other leaf a little bit more. Kind of makes a pointy horn shape here. So I need to like make that same curved pointy horn shape here. And that looks better now. So yeah, it's all in the negative space. And this is a little too pointy here, so I'll need to do that. Well, now it's not pointy enough, so now I need to do this. Okay, that looks good now. That looks okay. That looks okay. Okay, I think this leaf is correct now. It's just super subtle little details a lot of the time. Super duper subtle. And I mean, that's what being an artist, a good artist, is all about, is noticing things that most people don't even think about, and training your mind to see things as they are and not just as they seem. So anyway, the next thing I would work on in this picture is the stem on this pear. I think it needs a bit of an overhaul because it's a little too bright, and I would work on that, but I only have 5 minutes left in this stream, so rather than work on that, I think I'll just start to wrap things up. So, I mean, 5 minutes actually is a fair amount of time. It's like the length of a standard YouTube video. So, actually, I think I will work on the stem of the pear a little bit. Let's see, left pear, it's on the right pear layer. No, it is the left pear. It's the stem of the left pear, so it's a problem with the lighting on that. It's just not looking right. And that needs to be way darker, so I'll just do this. Curves in like that. It's not that sharp though, so I need to blur it just a tiny bit. And that looks way better. And I only took a minute to do that, so what else can I spend the rest of the stream on now that there's only 4 minutes left in it? I don't know. Now there's 3 minutes. Well, 4 minutes. No, 3 minutes. Gosh. Time is flying by. Well, since there's only a few minutes left in the stream anyway, I guess I can end it here. So, anyway, I appreciate everyone watching today, and it was a really good stream. Got a lot of good work done on both this art assignment and my PNGtuber avatar for future streams. In fact, I might even have the PNGtuber avatar ready for the next stream. We'll see, but until next week, it was good, guys. I look forward to doing this again next week. Same time, same place, everyone. I appreciate you being here. And, yeah, I'm pretty bad at outros, but I'll see you all next week. Bye.